All right, moving on to episode 5, The Other Side. So I was telling Kayla when we were sitting here watching episode 6, which we only got maybe 10, 15 minutes into that one, so we haven't seen much of that one. But I was really bummed that we didn't bring up the name of the character in the last episode. Why you?
Yeah.
Why you? Why are you so boring? Why we kept saying that throughout the whole freaking. It was like every time somebody came in, it was like, "Why are you in here? Why are you?" There was another name too that was like this.
Yeah, I don't remember what the other one was.
There was another one that was really funny. Yeah. For us. Mm-hmm. Why you? Anyway, so we apologize for missing out on all those jokes. I'm sure someone was probably doing it as well. And for any of our Indonesian watchers, you're probably like, what are you guys talking about? Okay, so The Other Side. This one is probably my least favorite. I liked, you had brought up, and I'm sure you will, this aesthetically matches something when he's at the movie theater. I'll let you talk about that, but I don't know. The problem here, once again, 2 episodes in a row, is our main protagonist and how unengaging he is, because his reactions to things, while at first are sweet and, tragic, it's the second time where I kind of started to check out a bit, because when he leaves and he comes back and it's been 2 years, it's like, yeah, that's shocking, that's fucked up, that's crazy, sure. And his wife takes him back and all this stuff, and then he just casually is like, I'm gonna go out and get cigarettes, which, you're gonna have to go out on your own again at some time. But for him to be chased and for him to willingly go into the movie theater, I know that they tried their best to get a good enough reason for him to duck into this thing to survive. And it's like, if I don't do this, I'm going to get killed. And this was his only option. So it's good enough-ish in that way. I'm fine with there being a established good enough reason.
Yeah.
But when he comes out of there and he's once again shocked that it's been a time jump again, it felt so dumb to me. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? Of course. Now, I don't really know how the time distortion works in there, right? And I don't think it really has a set thing, because it isn't even that in the end, and we'll get there. But like, he goes to the door. So let's say he said, and this is what doesn't make sense to me in the beginning anyway. So his wife is hurt. They have a really cute little relationship, and I really did buy into their relationship, and I did like the family dynamic.
Yeah.
I was invested. But she starts having these pains, and he's going to get her medication. He gets on the bus. They don't have much money. And he's like this good guy. He wants to stick up for the girl who's getting on the bus, and like he's, but he doesn't have any money to help out and whatever. But he gets off because he's just going to make this pit stop at this place where they met, and it's like this nostalgic place for him and his love life, his wife's meeting place and all this. But then he goes, and I guess you could just call it a trance, but when he goes in and it's like a fully operational building, and then he goes outside and he sees the opposite of what he saw when he walked in.
Yeah.
He then comes home and he was like, yeah, but it was only there for a couple hours or a few hours. He says something hours. I think it's a few or a couple. The only explanation I have on this is it's a trance-like quality. Because I don't know why, when your wife is in pain, you decide to stop somewhere other than her getting her medication and hang out there for hours.
Yeah.
Like, dude, she needs this pain medication.
Yeah.
She's at home in pain. You don't stop somewhere for a few hours to reminisce, right? So it was very odd to me that he would have stopped. I write it off as that place has a trance like quality to it.
Yeah.
Where he's like, what is this? And he just kind of gets wrapped up in his head and loses time.
Yeah.
So to speak, and literally loses time. But the time distortion, as I said, is weird. Because, like, when he goes to the door in the second time, he's there for, like, a few minutes. And he says he's there for a few hours, and it's 2 years.
Right.
So a few minutes should be at least a week a minute, right?
Yeah.
Is what I would expect. A week a minute sounds about right-ish. And he talks to that guy, he's in there for a few minutes, and then he goes back to the door, and when he opens it, the guys are still out there looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's only been a minute or two.
Right.
And it's like, shouldn't it be weeks? So I don't know what the time distortion thing is there.
Yeah.
But when he goes in the second time and comes out, that's where I started to be like, okay, this guy's kind of a moron.
Yeah.
But he's in a trance, so to speak.
He is. Yeah, he definitely gets kind of hypnotized or, like, enthralled when he's there.
Ironic for the next
Yeah.
episode that deals with hypnosis.
He for sure isn't, like 100% clearly thinking. I don't understand the time distortion. I think that the best explanation is just that this place, it's not so much that the place is, like, distorting time, but, like, the entity that's controlling things is. So when, like, to give him a glimpse of, like, the bad stuff, because they are very literally, like, if you go back out that door, like, it's just gonna be pain and whatever, and if you stay here and go out the front, like, you'll have, like, happiness and the life you want or whatever. So I think that that's sort of at the discretion, I guess, of the entity that's controlling the place. That's my only, like, explanation for it, because I agree. Because it also doesn't make sense, because he falls asleep, which I guess he could have fallen asleep for a couple hours, like an hour longer than the last time he was there. But he's only gone 3 years the next time.
Right.
It feels like he would have, and we were like, how long is it going to be? 10 years,
yeah.
20 years? Like, how long is it going to be? It was only 3 more years, so he didn't sleep for yeah, he took a nap, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But it definitely feels like The Shining in there. It has that vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, I think that's creepy, and I like it. I liked their relationship in the beginning. I think that they're, like, very sweet to each other, and, like, it's kind of like, instead of, you know, they have the stressors of being poor and everything, but they're also, like, very happy together, and he mostly just wants to give her a better life, but she's kind of, like, she's happy with the family and everything. Like, she's not trying to pressure him for more. But he definitely
has a family member show up and try to, like, bring her back to money.
Yeah, and she declines.
Like,
yeah.
No, yeah.
So, but he definitely feels the pressure to provide more for her. He feels guilty. So I really like all of that, but I think that kind of where it starts to go a little downhill is when he returns again. But, you know, like, in the end, too, he is being, like, controlled by this weird creature or whatever that thing is in the woods. So it's definitely, like, not 100% his fault for going back or anything. Like,
yeah,
he just kind of gets in this trance, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. This show's so weird, and I don't dislike it per se, because I am kind of a fan of subversion of expectations. But because we have such a limited time with these, like, 45-minute to hour-long episodes, they introduce a lot of things that don't really end up doing or being anything, right? Like, typically with something like this, we use we have this opening where he's this wonderful, amazing artist who works on these movie posters, and he's painting his wife into them, and he holds this currency in his pocket that has his wife's writing on it that's like a keepsake of his, and he tells the kid about the story of how they met and all this stuff. And while it does create some character stuff, it's so different than what we're used to, in the sense of, like, I thought that we were going to do time travel and he was going to see himself getting that bill signed by his girlfriend, or that he was going to have to use his painting abilities in order to communicate or to send a message to the future, where he's stuck in the past or something because he's painting posters so that the family can get them in the future and be like, messages like, I didn't abandon you or something, you know what I mean? And it's just like all of these character traits that are typically brought in and have significance in the climax or later in the film or episode in this regard. And they're just not there. And it's weird because we get so many of them in every episode. Like I said, the last episode with the photo camera, the camera, the Polaroid camera that he gets that only has 10 photos in it.
Yeah.
And she makes such a big deal of like, there's only 10. Make sure, this and that. Right. And then he takes 2 and then he takes 1 more. And then the camera's never mentioned again. Yeah. It's like there's 7 more pictures. And it's like, why did we talk about the 10 pictures so much if there's no use to that? So there's so many weird moments like that. And I feel like it's prevalent in almost every episode we've watched. I keep saying. And it's fine because, as I said, even in all the episodes, I've been wrong about so many things. Mm-hmm. And I'm always complaining like, oh, this is so predictable. But it feels almost misleading, where it's like it's introduced as a typical plot point thing, and then it's just not touched upon again, so it almost feels like a waste of time in a very short runtime already.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on from that, I don't think this is one that you can analyze much, because I think it falls apart under scrutiny. If you go through and you're talking about like where he's at, because like there's interesting things that happen that I don't feel like there's enough focus on them. So it's like blink and you miss it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when he comes back the second time, when he's having a conversation with the new boyfriend, husband guy, we see an angle of the camera where he's just at the very edge of the screen, right at the edge of the frame, and you can see he has long hair.
Yeah.
And I was like looking at it, and it was barely there. And I was like, did they just have a weird, like a stand-in? And then I was like, no, I think this is the way people are seeing him.
Yeah.
But we never see it until the very, very end. And in that news expose that they're doing on the homeless. And we finally get to see him. But it's not like revealed as a revelation to where they do like a flashback of how he was being seen. So typically the way that would go is we would see him stumbling home in a flashback, and we're like, oh shit, this is the way he looked the whole time. Mm-hmm. So it's not very hand-holdy in that way, which I can appreciate, but once again, it feels very brushed over for something that should have more impact. But as far as like the whole entity thing goes, when the wife finally is like, I'm coming for you, not only does she mentally connect with him, which she never does previously, so I don't know why they're connected now and they didn't in the either times before that, but also, shouldn't he be standing in the lot in which the place got knocked down?
I know, that's what we thought.
Because the son says that they ripped that place down years ago, but then he goes to the place, and it's still there, and we were like, huh? They said they ripped it down, but then he's in the forest, which then explains that he didn't go there, which then makes me wonder, did he get actually chased there by these thugs who are, killed that guy? Did that guy actually die? Because that would like happen right outside. Yeah. And I feel like she would have mentioned, like, we went looking for you because there was a murder right outside of the restaurant that we were eating at. Right. And you went missing right after that. The cops would have been showing up minutes later. Yeah. And then a gang of people, like, all of a sudden, you have like 20 people who are chasing after him with all sorts of different weapons. It feels like manipulation. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's the entities trying to get him to go back. Yeah. Right? That he's being pushed into there and that he doesn't have choice. I don't think those guys are real.
Yeah, I think that's probably likely, is that it's just a way to draw him back in.
And do you think he was, because he was right next to the theater once again?
I don't know. I mean, yes, maybe he went back to the theater.
Does he ever even go to the theater? Because when we see him on the news, he's literally just walking around in the streets.
I know.
But then in the last thing, he's in the forest.
Yeah. Yeah.
With everyone else just staring there
I mean,
tranced. And it's like,
possible...
is he in a trance out in the woods with these things? And why the third time is he there with it and it's finally taking him when it already had him for 5 years accumulatively?
I think that he was like out in the world like doing his whatever thing, but then I think that they all get drawn to the woods.
So do you think that he's just out there like walking around and being like, ticket, anybody have a ticket?
Yes.
And like ripping up pretend tickets for, and he's just kind of in a trance. So I mean, how did he eat? Did he like, you know what I mean?
I don't know, yeah.
So how did he function for 5 years out as a homeless person?
Yeah.
If he was on autopilot?
It's a mystery.
That's what I'm saying. You can't analyze it too much
right.
because I think it falls apart.
Yeah, I do too.
And then the ending makes it seem like it's aliens. But it's once again a bright light.
It's something
like the
demonic,
like the angels that we see.
Yes, it's a similar light, but whatever that creature is very like demon-like, and
I thought it was covered in bark at first, but then I looked closer
it's just,
and
like,
it was
the gross
weird.
Skin, like scales or something kind of. I don't know either, but yeah, it's pretty sad because she's like trying to get him to wake up, and he does not. He decides to stay.
Yeah, because it like manipulates him. So then what? What does that mean? He's just going to stand in the forest indefinitely until he dies?
I don't know, because...
Because she scares the thing away and it leaves, and he's just stuck in his head.
I mean, I can only assume that she would go get somebody to be like, look at all these people out here.
I don't understand why it's even convincing him to stay, because I would assume the entity was trying to, like, suck their life force out or something. Yeah. And then they get in this weird, like... sonar battle or something.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And she like kind of screams back at it and like deflects it, almost like the wand battle between Voldemort and Harry Potter.
She's fighting it. I mean, yeah, I don't know what that is. She kind of has some type of psychic link to her husband, and I guess she's a little bit stronger psychically than we knew.
Or knew?
But, I mean, you know, we had another episode, right, with the poems in pain, where that same, like, effect is used.
Psychic link, yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of, like...
It's a good point.
Yeah, she's just got some psychic ability, some latent psychic ability.
Yeah, obviously, she has to, like, believe.
Yeah.
And when she sees him on TV, that makes her, like, question reality.
Yeah.
But I would just think, as she probably would, he's just mentally ill.
Yeah.
And he's just one of those people who walks around out there and talks to themselves and then once in a while has a momentary, lapse where he's able to be coherent. Yeah. And then he just kind of falls back into his psychosis. Yeah. All that stuff is super sad, but just like him not understanding, like when he comes back and he's like, what? It's been 3 years? It's like, bro, come on. You knew that was again. Why did you fall asleep in there? And and then he's like, if you want this way, if you go this way, you go back to the other life. If you go this way, you'll get everything you want. We never see that. We never see him go through the other door. He just ends up getting manipulated into staying.
Yes.
Which then I don't understand, because as I said, she scares away the entities and they fly away, and then they're still in his mind somehow. And they're asking him to stay, so they're going to come back for them later? And I don't know, like, and all the others that are around him are also people, but they didn't get anybody to come for them. I mean, he has his link, right? His link is strong, because him and his wife are, like, crazy in love with each other, and that's fine. I don't have any issue with that. Like, I like that she comes for him. And I like that it ends up ultimately being for nothing, because this has a pretty surprising ending that he doesn't come back. Yeah. Typically, he would come out, but he doesn't in this. I just don't know if she scared them off, why they're still in his head. He decides to stay, and then I guess he's just going to sit there until he starves to death. Like,
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe... If he walks through that door, it's like his soul leaves his body and he just becomes like an empty vessel for whatever to inhabit. But we don't see what happens after, so I don't know what happens to him.
Yeah, I mean, we might see...
Maybe we'll see it in the final episode like we've been guessing this whole time, but maybe not. Maybe the final episode will just be like its own thing, and all of these have just been kind of like little references to each other.
I will say a tiny mild spoiler for the next episode, so if you haven't seen it, you can cut out now. I'm not going to say what it is, but I am going to say that it has a pretty big connection to this episode.
Yeah.
So we haven't watched it all yet. So if there will be more, I doubt it, because we're already done with that scene, and I think that it's probably all that there will be. But that's the biggest connection I've seen thus far.
Mm-hmm.
And but we'll talk about it in the next one.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else here with this one, like names or funny little things we were going to talk about. But
I don't think so. Not in this one.
No.
I didn't feel like there was anything like that in this one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely my least favorite thus far. Just, I don't know. I couldn't buy into the like shock of like, I could the first time.
Yeah.
But then it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, the second time
I'm not going anywhere near that building.
Yeah.
I'd rather face the fucking mob.
Yeah.
You know? But as I said, I don't think they're real. In fact, it would have been good. In fact, it might happen. It might have happened, and I just didn't realize it. But some of those guys might have been some of the dudes inside. I'd have to. I don't know if the guests and what movie they were watching or like whatever, and he was kind of peeking
about, like,
in on it.
Breath of Romance or something.
So yeah, I don't know what the word like what's going on in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Because he never goes through the door to get like the life he always wanted.
Right.
But once again, we're dealing with money, and the next episode is all about money too. So far. Yep. So literally every episode has been about people who are having daydreams for the future, yeah. Right? And the nightmare in trying to get them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. That's it. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.